So over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, that I've kind of been on this journey towards thinking better, being better, trying to be rational, trying to search more for objective truth. So it's been a while, and what I started to realize as I read more about it, and you start to identify people that do it well. What I've called it is I've said it feels like a superpower. The ability to be so self-aware, so reflective on your own thoughts and understand them, the ability to detach the emotions and the feelings and the identity from it and actually just look at something objectively, the ability to have conversations with people and not let those same emotions creep in and derail them, all that stuff. It feels like a superpower to me. It always has. I think that's probably what drew me to it from the beginning. It just seems so powerful to have that control of yourself and situations and all that stuff. And then over the last few years, as I've learned more about it, and I've tried to see its application in real life, and I've tried to apply it in real life, I've had this kind of nagging thought, which simply put is this might be the most useless superpower that's ever existed. Fully aware that real superpowers don't really exist, but the reason I say that is it's you can master it, right? You can become to the point where it is a superpower, your ability to do all those things, but it can feel like it doesn't serve any purpose, because unless you have other people who also are on the same journey or strive for the same things as you do, what good is it? You can see things really clearly. You can feel like I can enter into a conversation and really search for objective truth or whatever it might be. But if the other person is not there, if they're super dug in on their beliefs, if they're super biased in how they think, or just completely unaware and just act off emotion and all that, it can feel like, well, what am I actually accomplishing, right? What good is it doing me, right? Nobody else is seeing it this way. So I may see it, but nobody else does. And I think that leads to a pretty common path, which is probably where most people go with it. And probably what a lot of people would do with any superpower, right? It's kind of the sick, whatever, twisted thing that comes to my mind is, you think of people that say, if you had a superpower, if I could be invisible for a day, what would I do? Most people go right to a place of, I would spy on somebody. I would go into the girls' locker room, right? Whatever it is, some creepy thing or some sleazy thing you would do to benefit yourself some way, right? And this feels similar to that in some ways, in that once you recognize what it is that you're honing and developing, and then you start to recognize the power it has and the power it doesn't have, what it allows you to do and what it doesn't allow you to do, it's the negative that really shines through first. It's the ability to say, I can handle myself in certain situations at such a level. I can see things, right? I'm playing chess versus other people playing checkers. And I have such an understanding of how they're going to act and react based on emotions and based on the things that I see, that frankly, I can manipulate them. I can have a heavy amount of influence on the way they think or on the way these conversations go. And that becomes apparent, right? And not to get too political in this particular video, but about the media, right? Regardless if you think they lean left or right or whatever, that's a topic for another discussion, which we should and will have. I feel like in many ways that's what has happened with the media. There's become a realization of the things that you can do, the tactics you can take to deceive, influence, manipulate people based on these principles. And there's people that have become masters at it. And as you become a master at it, your ability to do that only goes up, and the power you can get from it, the benefit you can get from it only goes up. Again, not to get political, but I've said this before, there's lots of people that think Donald Trump is a moron, and that he's just a buffoon who somehow found his way into office. And again, we can debate all that. But my personal belief is he, or at least the people around him, and maybe both, have a very deep understanding of some of these topics and principles. And the ability to get a large number of people to believe something that you're saying, And it doesn't mean he's wrong, right? He may be wrong, he may be right. Let's leave that aside. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that you get this many people to stand behind you and support you in the things that you're doing. There's a reason that happens. And I believe it's this superpower that you can develop once you start to see the board clearly. So you kind of go down this path where you recognize it's a superpower. Then you start to think, well, this is the most useless superpower ever. Then you start to think, oh, there's a use here. It's just a negative one, right? And I'll give you another example of what made me think of this in a totally somewhat different realm, is the rapper Jay-Z. He's been around for a long time. He started, I think his first album came out in 1996. And, I remember hearing at different points in his career him talk about things like how deep and meaningful his first album was. But nobody really got it or appreciated it. And he almost acknowledged openly that he kind of switched things up to be more quote unquote mainstream and kind of give people what they want more. And now that he's gotten towards the tail end of his career, he's switched back a little bit. But what always interested me is that comment of like his first album different than his other albums for a very intentional reason. And I don't necessarily think there was an evil at play here, but that same superpower to me is at play, right? I think for a variety of reasons, he had honed that skill. And if you listen to his first album, Reasonable Doubt, you'll hear him talking about things at a level of which, again, it doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. It's just the perspective. You can see he has a perspective into things that a lot of people don't have. And again, that album, although, people enjoyed it, I don't think fully appreciated that. And he came to a realization, probably, that this is a pretty useless superpower. It's not getting me anything. So let me turn it. Let me use my superpower to see what do people really want? Why are they buying records? Why are they, getting into certain rappers and becoming fans of them? And what you saw over the years is he became arguably maybe one of the most influential pop culture figures ever. He's talked about it in his raps. He's talked about it in different things. He would pick something, a type of champagne, or a type of jewelry to wear, and it would become a trend. And there was just an ability, again, that chess versus checkers that he saw and was able to influence people to become a fan of his and ultimately, reap a lot of rewards out of it. So again, it goes back to that point of what is this superpower really good for? The thing I'm still trying to figure out, and I do believe it's true, is that there is a good use to this superpower, right? There is a use that can actually truly benefit the world and everybody, not hurt people, and not only benefit yourself, maybe more like the Jay-Z scenario. And you can argue that maybe he used that benefit to then get wealthy later in life and help people, which is great, if you believe that. But I still believe there is a use in the moment that can be used to help people. This skill, this superpower that you start to develop, when you do start to master it, there is a way to actually make the world a better place with it. I will be fully transparent to say I have not figured that out yet, and I'm not sure that anybody fully has. I'm sure maybe some feel like they have a grasp on it. I just haven't seen it yet. But it's a part of this journey for me. It's the next phase. It has to be. And I'm starting to see glimmers of it more for myself and in just kind of interpersonal relationships. So it's not scalable yet, but it's the piece that has to be figured out. There has to be a true meaning and purpose to this superpower that's more than just superficial or deceit or manipulative.